The attack. Her grandson, Hamza, 19 months old, has a piece of shrapnel in his forehead. He's been screaming with pain. In his crying, he calls out for his mother. But she was killed too. Kulthum's 13-year-old Hawa saw her siblings being blown to pieces. She rarely speaks now. China is not the only country responsible for arming Sudan's government. These are Russian Mi-24 helicopters being used in Darfur. China says it's only responsible for a small part of Sudan's arms imports. But it provides almost 70% of Sudan's small arms alone. The evidence we've uncovered about China may well be the tip of the iceberg. Tonight, President Omar al-Bashir stands accused by the chief prosecutor of the International Criminal Court of 10 counts of genocide, crimes against humanity, and war crimes, of masterminding a campaign of rape and killing against Darfur's black Africans. And this is the man China is backing. China's President Hu Jintao had gifts for President Bashir when he came to Sudan last February. He wrote off debt and gave him millions of pounds for a new presidential palace. China says Darfur's problems are economic and what Sudan needs is business. China has a cozy relationship with a government accused of genocide. And the reason is oil. Sudan has 5 billion barrels of known oil reserves, and most of Sudan's oil goes to China. China has a great thirst for oil, and it's not just plentiful here, China buys it cheap.
China is the most significant foreign oil partner in Sudan's oil industry. Today, Sudan does supply roughly 7% of China's total oil imports. It also has a majority share in Block 6, which is an oil block that extends into southern Darfur.
Our team decided to try to get to Adila in Block 6. It took days. This bleak part of Darfur is remote and dangerous, and it's arid. This place is plagued by both war and drought. And here, smack on top of China's oil wealth, where a Chinese company, one of the richest in the world, is pumping oil, we found children starving. Magbula, 9 months old, has lost a sixth of her body weight in a week. She's severely malnourished, battling pneumonia. Her mother looks on. A staggering 1/3 of small children here are malnourished, many severely. And malnutrition rates here are set to soar in the months ahead. All this while Darfur descends into chaos. Darfur's many militia and rebel groups have been fighting each other, and the government's fighting them. Already, 200,000 people have fled their homes this year. The UN has slashed aid rations across Darfur because of the dangers of moving aid. It might be different if there was an effective UN peacekeeping force here, but there isn't. Sudan doesn't want one, and China has helped Sudan get its way on the world stage. Through long discussions here at the UN, we've managed to piece together the story of how China has backed Sudan's government to the hilt. Over the last 4 years, they've helped weaken the UN arms embargo. They've helped prevent the threat of sanctions on the Sudanese government. And China has helped get a UN peacekeeping force into Darfur that's effectively crippled. Senior diplomats we spoke to here at the UN in New York who wouldn't go on camera said Sudan's government, with the help of its allies, primarily China, scuppered a plan for a stronger UN force in Darfur. A force that might have deployed more than a year ago.
One of the enablers of Sudan's being able to act so in defiance of the UN has been China. At the UN, China is Sudan's patron, and it's Sudan's political trump card. China has basically been the stumbling block to these resolutions. It has weakened them, threatened a veto. China has a veto in the Security Council.
Our team went on patrol with the UN force that's now in Darfur to see the effect this has had on the ground. China helped get this force here and was widely praised for it. After all the delays, Western countries were relieved a UN force was finally deploying at all. But China had helped lobby for a force which suited Sudan's government, a force which was deeply compromised. Panorama got all the way to Surba, the very town where the Chinese truck's gun had opened fire and burnt the woman alive in December. This UN force could do little to protect the civilians in this area during the recent onslaught. It doesn't have enough men, vehicles, or equipment. And it can't do much to protect civilians now either. Sudan's government runs the area. Most people were too terrified to speak to our team, but one person risked it.
Men don't go out at all. Some of the women can go out, but if they do, they'll get beaten and raped. Yes, that's the situation, so we don't go out. These are the Janjaweed who are doing this. The Janjaweed are all over this area.
As Panorama was about to leave the town, Janjaweed militia moved menacingly right past our camera. These ruthless government-backed militia carry out some of the worst atrocities, right under the noses of the UN. Sudan accepted this UN force on the condition that it would be predominantly African. China helped push for this, and that condition is precisely what has undermined it.
Sudan pushed for that language, and China pushed for it as well, because Sudan had been able to manipulate the African Union force because they were from African countries.
Now the head of UN peacekeeping can't get enough troops for this beleaguered force, and it's meant to be the biggest peacekeeping force in the world. To him, the problem is clear.
That force, operationally and politically, would be much stronger if it represented the whole world. And for that, you need a range of troop contributors that you do not have in Africa. I find it enormously frustrating that there are these immense expectations vis-à-vis the United Nations, and we are not in a position to deliver on those expectations. We can make some difference, but certainly not the difference that we are expected to make.
You'll soon be leaving your job. Is it a personal disappointment to you that this mission might go down in history as a great failure?
Yes, and actually I warned them I gave public warnings of that before the deployment was happening. I think it would be a tragedy for the people of Darfur. I think it would be a tragedy for peacekeeping too.
This is one of Darfur's immense camps for the displaced. It's called Kalma. The UN force comes here, but it doesn't make much difference. The camp's a sprawling mess, home to around 100,000 people. The rebels have a strong presence here, and so the government has little mercy. They stop any new arrivals registering for food aid. But Janjaweed rape or beat people if they leave. And even here, China's diplomacy has played a part. The Sudanese official charged with the welfare of the people in Darfur's camps is the very same man accused of committing the worst crimes against them, the very same crimes that drove the people to the camps in the first place. His name is Ahmed Haroun, and diplomatically, China has helped protect him from arrest. Ahmed Haroun, one of the first to be named a war criminal in Darfur, is accused of arming the Janjaweed and ordering large-scale killings in 2003 and 4. We were told that the mass graves of those whose killings he ordered lay beyond these hills. The court says Haroun is still part of the government network that decides where the Janjaweed deploy, and the Janjaweed are all around Kalma camp.
Haroun is responsible of the suffering of the people in the camps. Is responsible of the lack of food, the lack of humanitarian aid, the malnutrition rate, the people who are dying for starvation. Is responsible of the women who are raped as soon as they leave the camps. Is responsible of the men who are killed as soon as they leave the camps.
In December, China stopped a UN statement calling for Ahmed Haroun to be brought to justice. America, Brazil, and others also haven't consistently supported efforts to arrest Darfur's named war criminals. Under pressure, China finally agreed last month that Darfur's war crimes should be dealt with, but then said punishment in Darfur cannot be rushed. The women of Kalma do what they have to. They leave the camp to collect firewood so they can cook their food. A group of women left the camp on May 5th. This is what happened to 10 of them.
7 Janjaweed chased us. We didn't manage to escape. They held us and beat us. After that, they raped us, and I fell down and injured myself. I suffer from my injuries. I haven't felt well for 15 days. Emotionally, I am feeling very bad. How can I have been raped?
Darfur is a land where killers roam free. China is arming the killers, and it's helped defend them. The Chinese government wouldn't comment when we told them about the evidence we'd gathered.
Hilary Anderson reporting, and we've handed all the evidence gathered by her and her team to the UN panel of experts on Darfur. They have said that they will examine it. And the International Criminal Court, which today heard the charges against Sudan's president, has requested our footage. Also, we'll be reporting from inside China before the games begin. Next week, how can Gordon Brown lecture the world on climate change while backing a third runway at Heathrow? Not without his government cynically fixing the figures, say the critics.
Next on BBC One, there, one man down. Halford's gone AWOL in new tricks. She helped bring failing boutiques back from the brink, but are they still the height of fashion? A follow-up from Mary on BBC Two. And on BBC Three, innocent dream or loss of childhood for an 11-year-old beauty queen.